This foundation is like the bad memory that you just want to completely black out. Alright, so today it is the wrap up and ranking for 15 Days of Foundation Season 4. 15 Days of Foundations, where I test out a new foundation every single day for 15 days. All 4 of the playlists will be linked down below in the description box if you missed any of the seasons or you just stumbled across this video and you're like, what the heck is this? I'm very excited. We have a lot to talk about today. I sat down for about 5 hours yesterday and finished up my notes. I have friggin' 3, whoa, as I hit myself in the head, 3 pages of notes here. So basically what the wrap-up videos are is I go through all the foundations and rank them 1 through 15 from best to worse. This series was September 1st to the 15th, but I actually started filming day 1 on August 8th. So since it took me about a month to film the series, I've actually been trying out the foundations for a while now. But as I test them out, I basically try them with different primers, powders, mix them, just try and figure out a way to make them work, even if I didn't necessarily like them. If you're a new Beirito and you found my channel through this series this time around, welcome. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to have you. I also do Foundation Friday every single Friday on my channel, 6 p.m. Pacific time, so the foundation videos will continue. That playlist is also linked down below. So grab some coffee, grab a drink, get some food. This is gonna be a long freaking video, I can already tell. Alright, so let's do this. If you're excited for this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you want to know my thoughts on each foundation and how they rank 1 to 15, you're in the right place, just keep watching. I technically talked about 16 foundations this time around because the Lottie London All About That Base foundation was a total fail in the Este Lauder nude video. So that was like a 2-in-1, so I'm not going to be talking about this one today because we all know this was my least favorite. This was like number 16. So just for the sake of 15, so people don't get confused, just know this is number 16. I'm also going to insert swatches of all 15 foundations right now just so you can see the shades compared to each other. This is slightly difficult to get all in the same frame, but I think, oh no, we're missing one. There we go. So all 15 foundations are right here. If I had multiple shades of a foundation, I just went with the lightest one because they would not have all fit on my arm. So I'm just gonna get closer a little bit and go through all of the shades. So these are in no particular order at all. These are not like best to worst or worst to best or anything because I didn't wanna ruin the surprise. So these are just in a totally random order. First off right here is the Dior AirFlash foundation in the lightest shade 100. Sephora Make No Mistake foundation and concealer stick in the lightest shade 01 Driftwood. YSL All Hours foundation in BR20, Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion in 1C1 Shell, Tarte Amazonian Clay in Ivory, Burts Bees Goodness Glows in Porcelain, Bare Minerals Bare Pro in Fair 01, Este Lauder Double Wear Nude in 1C1 Cool Bone, Too Faced Peach Perfect in Snow, Dermablend Flawless Creator Drops in N0, Model's Own Runway Matte Foundation in Porcelain, Catrice HD Liquid Coverage in 10, Fenty Beauty Foundation in 110. My arm is cramping right now. Clinique Acne Solutions in 01 Fresh Alabaster. LOL, Alabaster. Okay. And last is Tom Ford Waterproof Foundation and Concealer in 1.5 Cream. Alright, so those are all of the swatches. Let's go into the ranking. I have combo skin with cystic acne. I get oily throughout the day. Just my foundation disclaimer, every product works differently for different people. I know I've said this 5,000 times, but I feel like it is important because some people love certain foundations that I despise and vice versa. We all have different skin types, texture. We all have different opinions on different products because we have different experiences with them. So it doesn't mean one person is wrong and one person is right. What wears well for me might look horrible on you, and vice versa. So this is just my experience with products, me sharing what worked and didn't work for me. A few of my lowest ranked foundations are foundations that I know a lot of people have loved. So just want to put that out there. Always do your own research, watch different videos, don't just watch my video. I feel like foundation recommendations you can kind of think of as like perfume recommendations. Usually if someone recommends a perfume and you know you have a couple perfumes already in your collection that they also love, you might also like the third one that they recommend. I feel like the same is with foundation. You see my train of thought there. Let's get into the ranking. Alright, so I'm pretty sure we can all guess what number 1 is. It is the Too Faced Peach Perfect Comfort Matte Foundation. This was actually one of the last foundations I reviewed. This was a weird friggin' series, by the way. I didn't even touch on this in the intro, but what the heck was up with this series? There were so many rejects. Ranking these was actually really hard because I was literally ranking like 12 of my least favorite foundations. The top ones this time were pretty easy for me. It was the bad ones that I was like, I mean, they're all bad. But anyways, number one, this one totally surprised me. If you guys follow me on Snapchat, I talked about how I was even debating getting this because it just didn't appeal to me. The whole peach thing, the scent, just all of it. It didn't sound like something that I would like, but you never know, clearly. The scent actually doesn't bother me because it's a totally different scent than the peach eyeshadow. It doesn't have that super, super artificial peach scent. It smells just more sweet to me. Because there are full reviews on each foundation, I'm basically just going to touch on my overall thoughts on each one, how I mixed it, any new findings, and all the foundations with their reviews are going to be linked down below in the description box so you can check them out. So overall, I would say this is a medium coverage satin matte foundation that is transfer resistant, which is one of my favorite things about this foundation. It looks beautiful on the skin. It doesn't cake up. It wears amazing throughout the day on my skin. I did like a transfer test in that video. You can friggin' hug yourself. You know, if someone's not hugging you, it doesn't transfer. If you have oily skin, this holds up amazing throughout the day. This would be my perfect foundation if it was a tiny bit more pink toned. I have the lightest shade Snow, and it is a bit yellow, I find. And if it had a little bit more coverage, this would be like my ideal foundation. Today I'm actually wearing it mixed with the Laura Geller Cover Lock foundation. This was my number one foundation in, I think that was the last series. Mixed these two today and I feel like it actually mixed to a really great shade. This one is very dewy, has great coverage, so I feel like these two mixed together, I mean, I think my skin looks pretty good right now. I like how it looks. I've probably worn this one now about 5-6 times since filming this video. Tried mixing it in with matte foundations like Marc Jacobs Remarkable. What else? I'm looking at my notes. The Cover FX drops. I definitely like this mix better with high coverage luminous products like the Josie Maran Argan it mixed well with. I can wear this one on its own. Again, I just would spot conceal since it's not quite enough coverage, but dude, this is friggin' beautiful. If you guys have tried any of the foundations I'm talking about, let me know what you think of them down below because I'm always really curious to see how products wear for you. Really don't have anything bad to say about this. If you have texture and you have issues with foundation like settling into any texture or fine lines, I mean, this one looks great on my skin. Number two is also one that completely surprised me. This is the Este Lauder Double Wear Nude Water Fresh Makeup. This is one of the most beautiful dewy foundations I have ever put on my skin. It looks like skin, but it actually has better coverage than I was expecting. You can get this to about high medium coverage, I would say, depending on if you do 2 layers and how you apply it and everything, but it looks like skin. It is a beautiful mixing foundation. If you have dry skin or oily skin but you like dewy, I think you might really like this because it actually wore really well throughout the day. I didn't get overly oily with this one. It feels moisturizing. It feels great on your skin. It's light. It doesn't feel like you have a shit ton of makeup on. I really like mixing this if I have a foundation that's super heavy and super matte. So this one I mixed with Marc Jacobs Remarkable 10, which is too light and very matte. Also mixed it with the Model's Own Runway foundation. I didn't like it mixed with this one. I did like it mixed with the Marc Jacobs Remarkable. Not like my favorite combo I've ever tried. I feel like I still need to find my favorite way to mix this. But if this has enough coverage for you on its own and you can find a shade that matches you and you like dewy, very moisturizing foundations, would definitely recommend this. It is gorgeous. By the way, ignore my nails in these close-ups. I just noticed they look pretty ratchet right now. Foundation number 3 is the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation. I find that a lot of really matte foundations can just look super heavy and cakey on my skin, but this is one that actually looks pretty freaking great. It almost looks like airbrushed coverage or something. It gives you a very smooth like canvas. I feel like if you don't have texture or if you don't have acne, this would literally make your skin look flawless, like unreal. On my skin it still looks really great. I wish the shade was light enough and I wish they had more of a shade range. The shade range on this is pretty shitty, but this is in the shade 10 Light Beige. I do have to mix this to wear it. As I continue to wear this, it kind of reminds me of the Marc Jacobs Remarkable foundation with less coverage. This is very full coverage. This one you definitely have to use more product and it's not quite as opaque full coverage, but just the way that this looks and the finish and everything kind of reminds me of Marc Jacobs Remarkable. This is extremely matte. On its own, it didn't wear the best on me throughout the day, so I feel like I still need to find a combo that I really like with this that can make it kind of last longer. I tried mixing this in with the CoverFX Custom Cover Drops in N10 to lighten it and add a little bit of dewiness, and it didn't hold up very well throughout the day on me, so I'm still trying to work with this one and figure out what I like this with, but I think if you can wear this shade on its own, it is beautiful. I think this one would probably wear best on normal skin. If you have oily skin, you might just need to work with this and find some kind of primer or something that makes it last longer. So this one I kind of had trouble ranking. This is number 4, and it's the Dior Skin AirFlash Foundation, Spray Foundation. I ranked this one below Catrice because for me, I just don't see myself really reaching for this again. God, I love this remote. I tried this a couple times mixing in with other foundations and it didn't look the best. If you have a combo that you like mixing this with, let me know what it is down below. Mix this in with the Dermablend Flawless Creator Drops to add a little bit of coverage and lighten it. And in my notes, I wrote that it looked good at first, it lightened it, added a little bit of coverage, but then it oxidized a shit ton and it didn't really wear very well throughout the day. But let's rewind. This foundation on its own I think is beautiful. I mean, you guys can see how it wore throughout the day in that video. It's just not for me. Like, it's too dark, it's too light coverage. But this one to me, I think if you like kind of medium to high medium, depending on how you build it up, coverage, and you like satin, dewy, if you have more mature skin, I feel like this would look really nice because it didn't settle into any of my lines or anything throughout the day. It wore really well. The whole spray thing just throws me off. It's not practical at all. I've tried using a beauty blender or brush. I've tried multiple different ways to apply it. It's just not very practical. I don't see myself reaching for this a lot, but I do think the formula of it, once it's on your face, is nice. So number 5 and 6, I kind of went back and forth between flip-flopping them because I couldn't really figure out which one I should rank higher. So I ended up going with number 5 as the Tom Ford Waterproof Foundation and Concealer and number 6 as the Dermablend Flawless Creator Drops. So let's first talk about this one and I'll tell you why I ranked it above it in the end. This foundation, like, just, it's $85. It is an expensive friggin' foundation, which I try not to take price into account when ranking foundations because when I test them out and I try them, I just want to see if it's a good product, whether it's $2 or $85. At the end of the day, price obviously matters when you decide whether or not to purchase a foundation. So I do feel like if a foundation is $85, it just has to kind of be out of this world and blow my mind for me to want to keep it or purchase it and for me to recommend it to you guys. So this one I just have kind of mixed feelings on. Like you saw in the video, the coverage isn't quite where I want it to be. It doesn't look the best when you first apply it, but this wore amazing throughout the day. Check that video again and go to the end, see how it looks at the end of the day because holy shit, this looked freaking flawless at the end of the day, which made me really want to try it out and mix it in and stuff. Even though I feel like for $85, I wouldn't purchase it with the intent of mixing it with other foundations because it just seems kind of ridiculous. But I tried mixing this in with my Milk Makeup Blur Liquid Foundation, which I love. In my notes, I wrote that it actually seemed to sheer out the Milk Makeup. It didn't look like quite as full coverage because, again, this isn't totally full coverage. I tested this with a couple different foundations. I never really found one that it really mixed well or wore really well with throughout the day. It definitely wears better on its own. I think the combo that I wore in that video, just this foundation with the Laura Geller Balance and Brighten powder, was definitely the best one I tried it with so far. Actually, I have a video coming using this foundation again, trying to mix it with the Dermacol. It's going to be the everyday quick kind of makeup look. You guys will see me mixing it in with Dermacol in that video. It looked really great at the beginning. I wore that face the whole day. It just did not wear well at all. So I definitely feel like this one wears best on its own. I think you might really like this if you're someone who doesn't have a ton to cover up and if you have a little bit less texture than me, because I think then it would look a little bit better on first application maybe, and it could be worth it if it wears as well throughout the day on me as it does on you. On you as it does on me. There we go. It's just not everything I want out of a foundation, so for me it probably isn't worth it. I also just want to say, if I didn't do YouTube videos and I didn't test out a bunch of foundations for you guys to make videos on, I don't think I would ever purchase an $85 foundation. I feel like my max would be about $50, which is still on the higher end. I think they have this one in store in Sephora, so maybe it's one that's worth getting a sample. I mean, a sample cup would be like $10 worth. So get a sample of this one. You can get a sample of any foundations at Sephora, by the way, so definitely do that before you purchase the full size if you're not sure about your shade or if you're gonna like the formula, because then you don't waste your money, you don't have to return it, And there you go. Okay, so number 6, the dermablend Flawless Creator Multi-Use Liquid Pigments. These are basically pigment drops like the Cover FX ones, except these are matte drops. Pigment drops are like concentrated pigments. You can mix them in with different foundations. You can wear them on their own. I typically only like mixing them in with other foundations. These I think are nice. They just are a tiny bit too textured. I find that anything I mix them in with just looks a little bit too textured on my skin. Cover FX drops are very dewy, so if you like more matte and you've been on the hunt for something like this, you might like this. I like them, I just don't love them, and I haven't found a combo that I do love them with. Like I say in every wrap-up video, there is a line, a literal line in my notes, where the foundations just kind of drop off. So all of the foundations above the line are ones that I like and I would recommend. The ones below the line didn't make the cut. I think from the series we had about 6 out of 15 decent foundations. Number 7 is where it starts to go downhill for me. Number 7 is the Model's Own Runway Matte Foundation. I've seen this look great on other people. Just doesn't work for me. It's not enough coverage. It also just looks so cakey on me. I have been using this one to mix in with other foundations because the lightest shade, Porcelain 01, is very fair. So I think that is a bonus because it is hard to find drugstore foundations that are this light. The shade is too light for me, so it's good to mix in with other foundations for that reason. It mixed well, not my favorite thing to mix. There are certain foundations like the Este Lauder Double Wear, a couple others that I'm going to be mentioning that I know look great on other people, and for whatever reason on my skin they just look too heavy, thick, and matte and cakey. How many times am I going to say these words in this video? It could work out for you if you have a hard time finding a shade that's light enough for you at the drugstore. You might want to give this one a go just for those reasons. All right, here we go. Getting into ones that a lot of people like that just look like shit on me. So here's the YSL All Hours foundation. This is a new foundation by YSL. A lot of people love this. It looks amazing on some people. It looks amazing on one of my best friends, Mallory. Just looks like shit on me. I do like the coverage of this. I like that a little bit of this goes a long way. It just does not wear well on my skin at all. It's definitely not all hours or 24-hour foundation like it says. This breaks down very quickly on my skin. I get oily. It does not look cute after a few hours, and it oxidizes a lot. I found a lot of these actually in this series oxidize a shit ton. Doesn't sit the best on my skin. For the price, it just doesn't have enough things I like about it to make it worth it. So number 9 is the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Foundation. This one, when I was ranking this, I was just like, where the heck do I put this thing? This, one word, blah. Like I just don't have a whole lot of thoughts on this one because it's just very blah to me. It didn't look quite as bad as the next foundation that I'm going to talk about, but this one, just the shade, how it oxidized, how it wore throughout the day. I feel like this is one that I could see looking nice on certain people. I just don't see really one thing I personally like about it. Number 10, again, one that I have seen look great on some people. This is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Performance Wear Liquid Foundation. I was kind of bummed about this one because I really thought that I was going to like this just based on the description. It's supposed to be like Bare Minerals' most full coverage foundation, which all of the Bare Minerals foundations in the past have been pretty light coverage. It looks so heavy on my skin. This was probably the most mask-like one. I watched all of my videos back last night on these foundations, and I feel like in that video, it just looked like someone like copied and pasted a foundation on my face. Like it was just sitting on top of my skin. I do appreciate that Fair 01 is pretty light, so that's a plus. I feel like if you like Estee Lauder Double Wear, you might like this one because it sits kind of similar on my skin. So unfortunately, this one is a no-go for me. I really wish I liked this because, again, I just had too high of hopes for this one. So number 11 is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation. So this is one of the ones that I have tried before in the past. It was kind of like a redo to see if my thoughts have changed on it, since a lot of you guys still ask about it, and my thoughts have not changed. I still don't like this. It just has never looked good on my skin, and it still doesn't look good on my skin. I definitely would not call this full coverage. It just looks so freaking dry on my skin. If you have dry skin, I don't think this would work because on any of my dry patches, it just looks horrible. I just don't like how it sits on my skin, don't like the coverage, don't like the shade. Number 12 is the Clinique Acne Solutions Liquid Makeup with Salicylic Acid. This one mostly ranked this low because 1, it burned my skin, was not comfortable to wear throughout the day on my skin, and 2, I just don't get this product conceptually. If you have a foundation geared towards people with acne, it should probably be a little bit better coverage, just because you know that people with acne are going to be wearing it. Typically, when you have acne, you like higher coverage. You can cover it if you're going to be wearing a foundation. I love the Clinique Beyond Perfecting foundation. It's one of my favorite foundations. That one has beautiful coverage. It sits on the skin really nice. That one I feel like would have made sense to put salicylic acid in if you're going to have it geared towards acne. This one did not make sense to me. Packaging and just idea kind of reminds me of the e.l.f. Acne Fighting Foundation, which is beautiful. I wish they made that foundation in a light enough shade because I would wear it on its own. This one I just would not recommend if you have acne, or if you don't have acne. I don't know why you'd wear this if you don't have acne, because it has salicylic acid in it. No. All right, we are getting down there. I'm sure you all know which one is still coming. Every time. I'm not gonna get over this. Usually I have to get up and turn on the camera again when it stops recording. So great invention, Canon. Number 13 is the Burt's Bees Goodness Glows Liquid Makeup. This one ranked this low because this is one of those few products that I think I just wouldn't recommend to anyone, no matter what your skin type, because it's just patchy. It just applies very patchy. It clings weird. Again, I do appreciate that the shade 1005 Porcelain is actually very light, and this is a drugstore foundation. Also just really bothers me that this is called Goodness Glows, but it's actually not that glowy at all. I was kind of envisioning like a Josie Maran Vibrancy foundation kind of vibe with this, and it's not quite Josie. In my notes for number 13, I just wrote you. Number 14. My heart actually just started like racing. Let's just put it out there. I really dislike this foundation. This is the new Fenty Beauty foundation by Rihanna. It looks horrible on my skin. I am not just talking a little bit of texture or dryness. It looks straight up bad on my skin. What I gathered from this review video was that a lot of people had a very similar experience with this foundation to me, and a lot of people also really love this foundation. So I think this is just one that is totally different depending on what kind of coverage you need, your dryness. Going into that video, the people in Sephora had told me like, you need to moisturize the heck out of your skin. I always prep my skin for foundation, but this one I really like exfoliated. I feel like I prepped my skin really well. This looked so dry on my skin. I did try and apply this a second day. The second time I tried this, I put on even a thicker moisturizer to try and like really give my skin some moisture before applying this. And the same thing happened. I get such weird, not even texture, it's like weird patchiness and dryness, especially on my forehead and places where I don't usually get it. From what I've seen and read from comments from you guys and watching other videos, to me this seems like a foundation that is really only for people that have pretty flawless skin to begin with. But I do love the shade range. That is one thing that I think is amazing about this. The lightest shade is very light, definitely pale friendly. Shade range is awesome. I hope every brand takes notes from Riri. I like some of the highlighters and other stuff in the line, but this one was just a complete fail for me. This was a definite no. Number 15, you guys probably all saw coming. This is the Sephora Make No Mistake Foundation and Concealer Stick. In my notes, I also wrote ew for this one. Dry, clung onto everything. I didn't wear this one again because I think I even said in that video like I would never put this on my face again. There are so much better stick foundations out there. If you're new to the stick foundation world, Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation is stunning. Would not recommend this to anyone. I'm actually curious though if you like this stick foundation. I'm curious, like, does anyone like this foundation? I want to know. All right, so that was all of the foundations ranked. I'm glad at least we got a couple winners during the series. I was starting to get a little bit worried there. All of the foundations are linked down below in the description box along with their corresponding review videos if you want to go back and watch any. Foundation Friday starts back up next Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And in that video, I have kind of an announcement coming about future Foundation Fridays with Accutane and everything, so stay tuned for that video because I'll update you guys there. So I'm not releasing the dates or anything for the next series yet, but like I said, it's gonna be very exciting, working on some really great things with Project Beauty Share that I'm really excited for you guys to finally see. So fingers crossed it all works out how we're envisioning in our minds. Thank you guys so much for your support throughout this series. I appreciate all of the love and comments and constructive criticism. So if you enjoyed this video and this series, don't forget to give this a thumbs up so I know. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. See you on Monday. That's a wrap. Oh, no, it's not a wrap because the battery wasn't on. That's a wrap. What the heck? You're ruining my moment, remote. Here we go.